Surprise! I always tell you, you never know when I'm going to go live on here. And so I'm going live now because I keep getting sent screenshots of what the guilters are posting about me. So I'm going to go over it now live instead of having to type everything, because it would be a big pain in the ass to type it all. And then this will be left here and you'll be able to read it. So I'm going to read the screenshot. So Claudia Ward, who this post is from, Claudia Ward and her mother Thelma were members of, I used to be the president of a community organization called the Lombard JCs. And Claudia's son, Ryan, had cancer. And so our organization, for several years, raised money for her family. So we did things like our monthly meetings would be at a Chili's restaurant, which, no offense if you like Chili's, but I think Chili's is a crappy restaurant. But we would go there because the restaurant would donate 15% of the total money we spent to the family. So we did that. We did things like from our summer festival, we did raffles for money for this family. So Claudia and her mother Thelma, and then Thelma's best friend, why can't I remember her name right now? Oh, Shar, are all vendors. So like Shar is an Avon lady, and Thelma sells like clothes, and then Claudia sold like interior design. And so they would regularly have their business, their little businesses at craft shows or whatever. So Shar approached our organization and said, how about we do a vendor show? And so I'm like, all right, but you organize it because, you do this for a living. I don't know anything about it. So then that morphed into that it would be a pancake breakfast. And we did this in, we did it the weekend after Thanksgiving. So we had where people could have their pictures taken with Santa and all that kind of stuff. So Shar and Thelma were the ones in charge of booking all the vendors. And the vendors had to pay X amount of dollars to reserve their booth. And instead of Shar having them write them like a check or whatever to our organization, she had them pay her and write checks in her name. And when I had questioned that, she said that she would, bring the money in at the end. And so who am I to doubt this? So then the organization part, we ran the pancake breakfast part. So we paid for all the supplies for, pancakes and eggs and sausage and orange juice and milk and all this stuff. And then we also supplied all the Christmas decorations, and we printing. We Shar had wanted flyers made so she could promote the event for weeks ahead of time, and signage and all this kind of stuff. So we have the event, and Shar and her daughter are the ones that worked the door and took everybody's money, that it was like $10 a person to come in for the pancake breakfast. So now Shar had also, she's the one that had collected all the vendor money, and we had like 30 different vendors. And Amy, actually, who's on here, can testify to all of this because she came down here to help. Her and her daughter were here to help at that event, and we're there. So they're the ones that collected the money to begin with, and we had a cash box that the money went into. At the end of the event, Shar handed over the cash box, but she kept all the vendor money. So our meetings were the second Thursday of every month. So we had a meeting in 2 weeks, and I had been messaging Shar, that she needs to be bringing that money in. And then even the day of the meeting, you can look on my phone, me texting Shar like 15 minutes into when the meeting is scheduled to start on, where are you? And no answer. So I don't hear from them for like 8 months. Nothing. They don't show up to meetings. Nothing. So meanwhile, the money they had that had gone in the cash box was still sitting in the cash box with the receipts, what we had paid for all the pancake stuff and all that. Now, mind you, the money that came in at the door was like $300. Nothing compared to whatever they were charging. It was like $100 a booth at like 30 booths, or maybe it was $50 a booth. I don't remember. But see, I didn't have anything to do with that part of it, and she wouldn't submit that receipts or anything for us to see what came in there. And so everything was just sitting in a cash box, because that's how you run an event. When the event is over, you have to put together all the money that came in, subtract the expenses, because we weren't just paying for these decorations and this printing and this food and all this stuff out of the no. So I don't hear from them for a long time. And then one day, out of the blue, Thelma messages me. And she asks me where that money is. And I said, I'm still waiting for you guys to come in with the vendor money so we can total this out. And then she got all kinds of bitchy with me. And then the next thing I know, Claudia makes this post, and the thing that they have read out there is because Claudia tagged me and my other people from my organization in there. So Claudia makes this post with all these accusations when they walked away with I don't know how much money, because they won't turn it in. And that $300 sat here waiting for them. So, but let me go back to the screenshot. She says, I'm not one to rant via social media, but I have to share. This is Jax West, because she also included pictures of me. She is a leader in a fake community activist group called Community Commonwealth. Not fake. They have changed their name several times in efforts to dodge several accusations and lawsuits. Not true. And Claudia was a member of the organization. And what happened there is we were the Lombard JCs. The JCs are an international organization. And the members, which Claudia was one, said they no longer wanted to be a part of the JCs organization, because the JCs have you fundraise for like international charities. So one of them that the JCs are big in is called Nothing But Nets, and is mosquito nets for Africa. Not that that's a bad thing, but they wanted to concentrate on doing stuff locally as opposed to globally. And so she's one of the people that voted to do that. So we dissolved as the Lombard JCs and then became Community Commonwealth. So it wasn't to dodge anything. It was because we were cutting ties with the JCs, and she knows that, and that's just a straight out lie. This group befriended my friend and mother, which would be her mother and Shar, which also is not true. We didn't befriend them. They came to us because we ran a summer festival, and that's how we first met them, is because of them being vendors. They wanted to be vendors in our fest. So I didn't befriend shit. They came to us because they wanted to be a part of our fest. And suggested they organize a pancake breakfast benefit for Ryan. No, we didn't suggest that either. That was Shar. Had nothing to do with it. That was all Shar's doing. This event was held last November. We had friends and family come out to support Ryan. They didn't support Ryan. They had, 15 family members show up? And then they refused to pay at the door because they were family, and then all had to eat the breakfast too. And that's also on top of all the vendors they booked. They then told all the vendors they could eat the breakfast for free as well, which was an unlimited all-you-can-eat breakfast. So they literally told 100-something people they could eat all this food for free, that now we paid for all this food. We had friends and family come out to support Ryan, and we will forever be grateful for those loved ones. Maybe a lot of money was raised, maybe not. The amount does not matter. We are so blessed to have people stand up for Ryan through his journey. What makes me sick to my stomach is the fact that my family and friends, I had to go to the next page. Now I have to find where it is. Were deceived by a group of thieves, cons, rats. We didn't con anybody. They're the ones that then told these people to all come here and they got free breakfast. Ryan never received any proceeds. Yes, he did. He got all the money from the vendor, unless they didn't get it from their good friend Char. When my mother asked about the proceeds, Jax quickly got amnesia. No, I said, bring your money here and we will balance everything out. Subtract the expenses and you walk with all the profit. But we need to see what you brought in. And blamed others for the missing proceeds. Yeah, you, Char, had all that money. Again, we don't care if it was $1 or $10,000. Really, we are thankful for your love. That's it. Yet the idea that my child was used as a pawn is so sickening. He was not used as a pawn. A boy that underwent more surgeries before the age of 7 than most people ever experienced in their lifetime. A boy that lived for 9 months in a hospital. No, he didn't. That's a lie. Receiving high doses of poison in efforts to kill the cancer. A boy that has made friends in clinic and has seen these same friends lose their battle. Why would anyone want to prey off an innocent little boy? Well, to build a pond, I guess. And it's because my boyfriend built a pond in our yard, and they were trying to claim that that's what paid for the pond, even though Claudia knew damn well that Jeff did all that pond by hand himself. It didn't cost anything. And Claudia had been here and she had seen the pond. And she would post pictures of, look at these flowers that I think you should get for your pond. Wait.
2 things before you forget.
Here's my boyfriend.
The pond was finished in July.
They can see you in the window. Oh, yeah. And the pond was finished in July and the event was in November. So the pond was done months before that event even happened.
Secondly, we didn't hear from them for 10 months.
I said 8 months. He says it was 10 months.
They were so absent that we took all the toys to the cancer ward and donated them to the kids because they couldn't be bothered. And we have the thank you letter for donating all the toys to the kids' cancer ward.
Correct. That was something else we had done at that event, is we had asked people to bring a new unwrapped toy that we were donating to the hospital where Ryan got his treatments at. And then I kept asking them, when are we going to go and drop off all these presents? Because it filled the back of my car. And then when I took it out of my car, it was all over my porch. And, you know, because the plan was supposed to be that they were all going to go with, that we were all going to go to the hospital and present this hospital with all these toys that we had collected at this event. Nope, they wouldn't answer me. So Jeff and I ended up going there ourselves, having to deliver all these toys to the hospital. And then the hospital later sent us a letter of thanks for sending the toys to the hospital.
And our profit after expenses was $327.
And he says our profit after expenses was $327.
For free.
Yeah, because of everybody eating for free. So the Guilters like to, and it was Carla and her minions that first came across this stuff. And like to try and use against me constantly that I stole money. And you'll even see in the thread where this is originally posted in, my good buddy Richard Donovan likes to say that I have a record. Look it up, people. There's no record of me. I seriously have one speeding ticket from 1990. That's all I have. These people try and try and try. Everybody goes to this that I'm a thief, I'm a thief, I'm a thief. Prove it. You know, so Lisa Zakowski reported me to the Attorney General's office and my local police department. Nothing. So, but it's just the go-to thing that everybody wants to try and call me a thief. And I was just going to ignore this because I know people say all the time, oh,
here's our receipts.
Jeff just brought me up the receipts.
And here's a check written to Claudia that we couldn't do anything with either, that they couldn't bother to pick up.
Oh, so somebody there had donated money. They wrote a check to Claudia at that event, and that's still sitting here. I don't know if you can see it in that, because it always reflects and just shows white. You can't see anything. I don't know how you can show that. The closer I get, you can't see it. Farther away, I can't see it. But anyway, the check is dated 11/26/16 to Claudia Rivera, $24. I don't know why the person wrote a check for $24. Here's all the receipts from everything that was bought. So Costco, the total bill on there was $50. Costco, Sam's Club. Oh my God, I can't read. Sam's Club, the total was $189 and change. And Gordon Food Service, the total on this is $76.23. So, you know, all the receipts from what we spent are all still sitting here, plus with the check that somebody wrote for her are all sitting here, along with the money was here. All they had to do is come here now and show me your records of all the vendors that you had and how much they paid and how much money you brought in. And then we would reconcile the whole event. But no, they just took off with that vendor money. And then 8 months later, I'm getting a message on, yeah, where's that money from the door? Again, bring all that money here. You've got way more money than came in at the door. Let's put it all together. And we'll take out the expenses and you can have the rest of it. But they didn't want us to see what they brought in with the vendors. Wonder why. So anyway, what I was saying before Jeff came up was people tell me all the time, I don't need to defend myself. You guys all know, but now I see that this got posted in gossip. And so since people were talking about it, I'm going to defend myself. What?
$327 profit. I was owed $500 for printing, and you were owed for all the wrapping paper and everything you bought.
So, okay, so Jeff just said $327 was the profit, but that's not including the how much you were owed for printing? $485 in printing Jeff was owed. And then I bought all this, you know, wrapping paper and Christmas decorations and all this stuff that I don't know how much that was. So, and again, Amy, and I haven't scrolled down at all since I've just been ranting. Amy was there. So she saw this event firsthand. And I'm sure there'll be people who will say, oh, well, Amy's my friend and Amy will lie for me. So you're not going to believe what Amy says. But there is me explaining that whole thing. Believe me or not. But I am just putting it out there. And I will start scrolling down now if you have any other questions. Because again, I always say, I'm an open book. I've done nothing wrong. So, all right. Well, so far, everybody that I'm scrolling is not talking about anything I just talked about. And just doing your, you know, normal making a murderer stuff. I'm laughing at the people that are saying hi, Jax's boyfriend. Oh, so Amy says, I guess screenshots of Scott sitting on a couch next to me is going around. Laugh my ass off. What the fuck? What they're doing from that is, you know, back when Amy and I were friends with Barb and Scott, and Amy was really tight with them and was the family spokesperson and such. They were doing a Facebook Live event from Amy's house. And when they were visiting Amy. And so they were sitting on a couch that you're on the on the camera, and it wasn't a big couch. It's 3 people sitting on a couch. So they're sitting kind of close together. And at some point, Scott touched Amy's leg. And so from that, the guilters have all gone off on this thing like Amy was fucking Scott. the things they will reach at. People telling me to stop defending myself. Amy says, every shirt and sign in Making Murder 2 you made and never got paid for. Right. So Jeff, my boyfriend, owns a print shop. So everything you see in Making a Murderer, he printed. Signs, shirts, flyers, banners. Carla's husband, Stacy, wanted everybody to sign a waiver when they were on his property. Jeff printed all those. You don't see them in Making a Murderer, but he printed those. Jeff made signs for the salvage yard. Jeff made business cards for Chuck and Earl. I made Free Brendan wristbands. I mean, the list goes on and on. But I'm stealing money. Bev says, so let's get back to Stephen and Brendan. Hands up for innocence and praying they get out in 2019. Tammy asking, were you in the documentary? Amy's in the very beginning of MAM2. So when you see Barb at her house holding up the blanket and there's a woman there holding it up with Barb, that's Amy. And I'm in episode 9, the back of me, for like 3 seconds. And Amy's actually kind of in it more than you think, because a lot of the shots, Amy was actually in the room with Barb and Scott, but they cut her out. So I'm just scrolling through here to see if you have questions about what I came on to bitch about. Chris says, I have to believe that supporters can see their pettiness. I know, don't give that bullshit a second thought. Don't let it consume you. They're acting like high school bullies. Bev wanted to ship some bracelets to Canada. I still have a bunch of them, I think. So I'm not going to stay on here to, take a bunch of questions. I was just jumping on to, since I see this got posted here, so I want to, put an end, try and squash it immediately. But and I have to get up early tomorrow, and I worked all day, all night, and was spending this little bit of time to watch TV with Jeff, and I got to be up early tomorrow. I'm going to meet Joe Biden in the morning. I'm excited for that. But if you ever have a question, you see somebody saying something about me, ask me. I say it over and over. I am an open book, and as the saying goes, I have receipts. And maybe I should say Jeff has receipts, because he kept it all, because we have to keep dealing with this shit. So I have it all right here. So you can private message me or make it public, because I'm not hiding. So all right. So I'm down to the bottom again, and people are asking just regular Making a Murderer questions. And like I said, I'm not getting into that tonight. This was just to squash this, because the screenshot was just posted in here tonight, and I don't want to type it all up. So it's quicker for me to just rant about it. So I'm going to go. Everybody have a good evening. Until next time.